Please go to elithecomputerguy.com in order to view schematics, code, and more for the projects that you are learning about. Welcome back. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to get help when you're using the Ubuntu server operating system while you're at the command line. Now, to be clear, in the modern world, the best place that you can go to in order to get help is Google. That's right. If you are stuck, if you're trying to figure out what to do at the command line, the best place to go, if you are able to go, is to go to google.com and plug in whatever the hell your search query is, and then see what the hell the internet has to say. But it is important to understand that Linux has built-in tools that will try to help you actually use the operating system. Because it is important to understand when you're using the Linux command line, one of the reasons that Linux is hard is simply because you have to type in the appropriate commands, know where the files and folders are, know what the arguments are, so on and so forth, in order to do anything with the operating system. If you type in something a little bit incorrectly, nothing will happen. It will just fail out and people will get frustrated. So there are some built-in tools in Linux to try to help you out with using the operating system. And I'm going to show you some of those tools today and some of the quirks with them, because again, the user experience is oh so Linux. Oh so Linux. So what I'm going to be showing you how to use today is there's a tab autocomplete. So if you start a command, let's say you want to list files or something, but you're not exactly sure what to say, you could simply type in L. So the command to list files is ls. So let's say for some reason you only remember the L, you don't remember the anything else. You could simply type in L. If you hit tab, that actually does an sort of an autocomplete. Basically what it does is it gives you all the command options that are available that start with L. So like ifconfig is how you can get your IP address from the command line in Linux. So if for some reason you don't remember it, you could type in I or you could type in if, you could hit tab, and then that will show you all the options that are available. So that's something that will be useful for you. Then there is something called the Whatis command. So you sit there, you see all these commands that are available to you, and you're like, ugh. What is any of this? One of the things that's cool is you can type in what is and whatever the command is. What is ls? What is ifconfig? What is grep? Or whatever else. And essentially it will give you a one sentence synopsis on what the hell this command does. And so that can be valuable. So you're sitting there, you're looking at all the commands, you're like, will this command do what I want it to do? You type in what is space, whatever the command is, and it will give you a sentence. This is what the command does. You go, oh, okay, yeah, that's what I need. Or no, that's not what I need. Then we're going to go into man pages. Good old classic man pages. Man pages have been around forever. They're one of the things that came out of the Unix world. Basically, they were called manual pages, man pages. And the idea was that the manual for the Unix operating system was built into the operating system itself. Again, one of the things you have to think about when you're dealing with the Linux world, a very important thing to understand when you're dealing with the Linux world, is that so much of the operating system has things from a long time before the internet. It's a long time before Facebook, a long time before Google, a long time before Windows 95, a long time before even the World Wide Web. So what man pages were for is imagine in the 1970s when you don't have the internet, you can't just go to Google, you're trying to figure out how to use an operating system. What the man pages do is the man pages allow you to be able to type in a command, man, and then whatever the command is, and then it will go and it will actually give you a printout. It'll give you a write-up of what that command does with all the arguments and everything else, and is basically built-in documentation into the Linux operating system. So that's useful. And then I'm going to finally show you help, because, of course, in the Linux world, you can't just find one way of doing something and then just do it. You can't just be like, hey, man pages. Have the manual built into the operating system. That'll make life easier. Because you're always going to have something. You're always going to have somebody say, well, the way I think this should be done. And that's where you get help. You see, type the command -help. And then you get a different form of documentation that kind of sort of looks like man pages, isn't quite man pages, and you have to do a couple of other things with it. And so help is sort of like a man page, kind of, sort of. And so maybe if you're sitting there, you're trying to figure out information, you can't go to Google, or you don't want to go to Google for some reason, you could type in the man, you could go to the man page. Maybe if that doesn't give you the information you want, you can go to the help page. Why are there man pages and help pages? Apparently it comes from the GNU project. Hey, the GNU, you remember those GNU people? Those people, yeah. Apparently it comes from that. The idea, so man pages, again, the concept was from the 60s or 70s. And so the help pages, or the info pages, as they're called, was from the 90s. And again, even in the 90s, the internet isn't what the internet is today. And so it was supposed to be like an updated version of man pages. It was supposed to be a better way of doing man pages, but it's like a lot of things in technology where we have man pages works, everybody knows what the hell man pages is. They come out with these info pages, you go use help, and then the internet comes out, and then Google comes out. And so what you really get in the modern world is you get people using man pages, and you get people using Google, and then you got this weird help stuff in the middle. But I figured I would show you that because that does come up in a lot of documentation. Honestly, with all of these, I would use man pages and I would use Google. The help, I don't know. I take a look at the help pages. I think they look horrible. I think they look like trash. But that's a wonderful thing about the Linux world. It's not about what I think. It's whatever the hell you want to use. So anyways, let's go over to the computer. I'll boot up an instance of Ubuntu server, and then I'll show you how these commands actually work. So here we are at my computer. I have a VirtualBox already open. I have these 3 instances over here, and I'm just going to grab this Ubuntu server. So this is a stock standard Ubuntu server that, again, basically I just installed 18.04 LTS onto this instance, and that is what we have. So it's just a stock standard server. So we're just booting it up. It'll take a couple of seconds here just to show you, just going through the process. And now we're the server login. For me, I have Bob. And again, this is an important thing when you're learning how to do technology, when you're learning how to do operating systems, just come up with simple logins. Simple logins. I know it sounds horrible. I know there's some people out there that are horrified that I'm using the server login Bob 123456. But the nice part about this is it means I always know what the username and what the password is on all of my little testing computers. Because one of the biggest pains in the butts is when you get like oh so cool and you're gonna try to make your testing computer secure, and then you forget what the hell the password usernames and passwords are on those computers because you just get too smart for yourself, and then that gets to be bad. So just a simple username and password makes life easy. So Bob 123456, and we hit enter, and we go through, and this is what we get. So it gives us a little bit of information. Now, one of the commands that I do want to show you, I'm not going to do a video on this just because I'll be using this a lot anyway during the classes, is so when you have a screen like this, one of the problems in the Linux world is everything gets printed out in the screen, and then basically what happens is your little command prompt gets farther and farther and farther down on the screen, and that can be a pain to look at. So one of the commands you can use is clear. If you use the command clear and hit enter, basically that clears the screen. So that gives you a nice clear screen. So this is just one of those useful things. Again, depends on what you want to do in life. So let's use a tab. You can't really see me use the tab. So if you know what the tab key is, right? If you know what the tab key is, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit L. So L. So again, one of the commands in Linux is ls. ls is something we'll be using a lot. So let's just say for some reason I don't remember what the command is. Is it LR? Is it what? I don't know. So what I can do is I can hit tab, and I hit tab again. And then for this, since I only put in one letter, it's saying, display all 101 possibilities. So I'll say yes. And so now this gives me all the possibilities for L. There's actually an L, a la, a last, a let, a whole bunch of stuff. And then if you see over there, I can't actually put my mouse over it, but if you see along this line over on the second column, you'll see ls. And you say, oh, okay, well, there's ls. So that's the type of thing that you can do with a tab. So like with the ifconfig, so I can type in, let's say, if, and I'm like, oh, is it config? Is it conplurb? I don't know. I hit tab twice, And then as you can see, it says if, and then it's ifconfig. So it's like, oh, okay, so it's ifconfig, and that's what I'm going to plug in. So that's all the tab is. You know, if you're trying to think about the file editors, you know, Vim or V, you could type in VI, you know, tab twice, and then it gives us all the options. So it's like, oh, okay, I've got V and I've got Vim, and then I can figure out what to do. So tab is what gives you this quote unquote autocomplete. Autocomplete in the Linux world. For whatever reason, I have to press tab twice to make this work. So that's just what we got there. So let me clear this out. So again, clear, and then that clears the screen. Now the next thing that I want to show you is what is. So, you know, I just did that V and Vim, and now you might be sitting there going, what is V or Vim? So, you know, Eli's talking about this. Why would I use that? So if I simply type in what is space, and then I do Vim, I hit enter, and so I can say Vim V improved a programmer's text editor. So you go, oh, okay, that's a programmer's text editor. Huh, I wonder what V is then. What is V? V improved a programmer's text editor. Okay, so they're both programmer's text editor. Okay, yeah. Then that gives you a little bit of an idea of what's going on. What is ifconfig? Again, just in a sentence, configure a network interface. What is ls? List directory contents. And so this is a way, you know, if you hear commands or if you're looking at a big screen of commands and you're just simply trying to figure out what the hell it is that you're going to use, that's simply by using what is, that's a way to be able to see. So with that, let's clear. Again, clear, hit enter, and it clears everything out. So now let's look at man pages. So I was talking about ls before, so we're going to use ls a lot. Everybody uses ls a lot. It's just one of those things. So you're sitting there going, I wonder what ls is. So man, so for man page, space ls. And now we get, this is what is called a man page. And so you sit here and it says ls name, ls list directory contents, synopsis, you know, is option file. This gives all the arguments. And so in order to scroll down, you press return. Now again, this is one of the things to be thinking about when you are learning how to use Linux, whether or not you want to just use the plain old command line or whether you want to use Ubuntu Desktop in the terminal. Because if you use Ubuntu Desktop and you use a terminal to do this, then you can use the mouse to scroll up, to scroll down, to do a lot of those types of things. If you're using just the basic nasty command line, you're not able to scroll up, and to scroll down, you just have to hit enter, 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 enter. So this is just one of those things. Again, when you're learning how to do things, this is one reason why you might want to go with Ubuntu Desktop, run these commands through the terminal versus do it on the command line, because this can just be a pain in the ass to scroll through. So it's like da 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 da, right? So that's man page. Then you can see at the bottom, right? So if you see down here, man page is ls, line 43, H for help or Q to quit. So that's one thing. Always look for where they're telling you how to do something. So in order to get out of this, you hit Q, and now you're out of it. If we do clear, let's say man ifconfig. I hit enter, and again, the same type of thing. It now gives us all this information. Scroll down in order to see what's going on with the ifconfig command. When I see whatever I need to see, I can just simply hit Q and get out of it. So that's really all there is to man pages. Now finally, let's go to help. Oh, help. So let's just type in help for a second. Again, I'm going to show you how horrible the user experience in Linux can be. So we're just going to do, it's ls, so it's whatever the command is. ls, clear, I suppose, ifconfig, space, hyphen, help. And this is going to give you the info page. And then we're going to hit enter. And then you can see it scrolls all the way down to the bottom. And again, remember, in command line, you can't scroll up. You know, arrows just do this. They just show you the old commands. So you can't scroll up. So basically, you're just sitting here looking at the bottom part of the help page. This is how bad the user experience is. I cannot exaggerate how horrible the user experience can be in Linux. You literally type in help, Everything goes flying by you, and then you're just looking at the ass end of it. So, in order to actually see help in a way that's useful, what we can do is ls. Let me clear the screen. Let's do clear screen, right? So, what we can do is ls space hyphen hyphen help. Then we use this bar thing, and then we do less. So by doing that, that will then give us the option of what's going to happen is it's going to fill up the page, and then we are going to be able to scroll through the info page that's created. So we're going to hit enter, and now we're able to scroll through. So it's like, okay, usage, ls, option file, mandatory argument, here gives us some other stuff, and then I hit enter, and then I hit enter, and I hit enter, and so by hitting enter, I can scroll all the way through this document. Now here's an interesting thing. Oh, Linux user experience. Can't make this crap up. So you sit here and you see end. You're like, well, okay, end. And you hit enter. Well, enter's not getting you out of there. Maybe Control C. That's not getting you out of there. Again, this is one of the things where you literally have to know what the hell to press in order to be able to do something. So if you do hyphen help bar less, you're here. In order to get out of this, you use plain old q, plain old lowercase q. So I'm going to hit plain old lowercase q, and now that gets me out, and I'm back to the command prompt. So that's one of the things just to realize you can run into. And again, that's one of the weird issues when you get into all this different stuff. So that's just a basic overview of some of these commands that you can use to try to figure out what you need to be doing with your server operating system. And overall, like I say, it's easy, and that's what I want to show you is, right, when you know what the commands are. Look at me, I'm just tippy tap typing. Aren't I so cool? I'm doing man, ls, I'm just typing all this stuff in. And that's what really Linux is about. If you know what commands and what arguments to plug in, you literally just type it and the system does what you tell it to do. If you don't know what to type, well, then it's going to be a really, really long day. So there you go. That's all there is to Tab Autocomplete. What is man pages and info pages using help? As you can see, in some ways this can be very useful and can make your life a hell of a lot better, and in other ways they're just prime examples of how, the people that code for Linux they just don't care about user experience. Nope. It's not. I don't even feel. In many ways, I don't feel with Linux that they're bad at user experience so much as they literally do not care about Linux or user experience, and therefore you get what you get. And I really want you to understand. I mean, I'm laughing about that, sounding a little snarky, but what I want you to understand is that is why being a Linux administrator can be difficult to begin with. You really have to understand, for the Mac world and the Windows world, right? Those companies, Microsoft and Apple, they may make mistakes. They may do some incredibly stupid things, but they're really trying to create user interfaces that are easy for the end user. They're trying, sometimes they come up with paperclip and they fail miserably, but they're trying to make an interface. They're trying to make an experience that's easy for the end user. And so when you're learning how to administer, whether it's Windows 10, it's client operating systems, or Windows Server, or anything like that, one of the things you have to understand is that they've created an environment that makes it relatively easy for you to learn how to use their systems. Now, you may have to learn a lot of information, and you have to learn a lot of configurations, but you have the ability to play around and test and see what happens. Why Linux is so frustrating for so many people is they just don't care. It's not so much that they create bad user experiences as in they just don't think about user experience at all. And so it really is, you sit there and you type in commands or you do things and you're just like with the help. Just for a moment, just think about the fact you type in hyphen help, and literally the entire help page goes whizzing by, and all you do is you get to see the ass end of the help page. Right? You literally don't know what to do, so you type help, And that is the result. And then if you know how to do the whole less thing, then you can get something that you can step through. Hey, that's a lot better. But then when you get to the end of it, it just says end. Just says end. And again, how many new technicians see that bold end and go, I think Linux is telling me something. I think maybe it's end in more than one way, right? Instead of sitting there and trying to figure out what to do. And again, it's simple. That's the thing. In the Linux world, it's so simple. It says end, and if you press Q, you go back to the command line. Yay! If you don't know to press Q. Oh, and then you lose your mind and give up and decide to become a florist. So, anyways, these are some basic commands that you can use to try to make your life a lot simpler. To be clear, honest, if I was learning things, if I was brand new learning things, I would not be using man pages or any of this. I would use good old-fashioned Google. Going to a normal web browser web page is going to be a hell of a lot easier for you. But to be clear, these actually have a value. I mean, yes, they are like vestigial. They come from the olden days. But remember, if you're sitting down at a server, especially maybe a server that you haven't used before and it's doing some specific task, simply being able to sit down and you're sitting there and you're like, oh yeah, I want to type in this command, but in order to do what I want to do, I need a specific argument. Crap, how does this command work? Simply plugging in man page, right? Man, whatever it is, and go, I see. And then you go down and you type in whatever the command is supposed to be with the appropriate arguments, and away you go. So man pages and these tools, again, can be valuable. Again, the tab, the autocomplete, right? So if I'm sitting there and I'm trying to figure out, what particular software is installed on the server, plugging in the first couple of letters, hitting tab, seeing what shows up, and go, okay, these are the things that are installed. So now I know what I can do on the system. Those are the types of things that can be very easy once you get much more comfortable in the Linux world. But honestly, in the beginning, Google. Just use Google. Just use your fancy Mac or Windows computer to go to Google and then administer Linux. So anyways, as always, I enjoyed doing this video and look forward to seeing you at the next one.